changing. Wanna leave my old life behind. Not a yes, sir. Not a
Light it up for week 10 of Ranger Nation Radio.
Is it week 10 already?
It is, believe it.
Good Lord.
Is it? You said it. You said it, and I kind of just went with it.
I threw a number out there.
Oh, I am not. I was told there would be no math. So, Tim Wood, Bill Bryant in the flesh, in the studio. No Skype. In the studio. We missed Lou so much.
I did. I tried to hug him, and he just kept running around and working. I wanted to give him a big hug. I missed him.
I got to tell you, awfully nice not to have to schlep all the headphones and such and laptops and everything to.
Yeah, welcome to my world.
Yeah, I bet. 30 years of it, right?
Yeah.
Nice. But enough about Lou.
No, enough about more than enough about Lou.
Thank you for joining us here on Ranger Nation Radio, presented by AFC Urgent Care, the right care right now. We will talk about them a little later, but we are huge fans of AFC Urgent Care, and I noticed today that AFC Urgent Care, this is just a segue just to be able to brag about me. So AFC Urgent Care is being recognized as a small business pioneer at the Merrimack Valley Chamber of Commerce. Dinner or breakfast on June 15th. Guess who else is? What's up?
Very nice. Luke Weekly.
Yeah.
That is fantastic.
In the media advocate category.
Very
So
cool.
Congratulations.
Dee-da. I got it today, and I nearly fell out of my chair.
We'd be the first well, not first, but first live on Facebook to congratulate
I mean,
you.
I don't know what it means, but the chamber does great stuff, and so even if it was just an inside job, I'll take it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's nice to be recognized. So I didn't want to start here, Bill. I can't not start here. And
I was looking for some guidance from you to not go into it.
I just can't. Listen. We've talked about the user fees on this show. Now the student user fees, as we can understand it as of right now, the student user fees that were proposed by Mayor Jajuga, it's a dead issue. He said that in our interview here on Looped In Live a couple weeks ago, and it's been followed through since. It's something that they know is going to cause so much red flags that they're not going there yet.
It's detrimental to a specific group of people that it would cause an impact to specific programs. So you're glad to see that, but with a deficit in a budget of that amount, there's going to be an impact in a negative way across all programming. What we heard
Tuesday night at the school committee workshop special session to go over the budget. So the mayor came back and proposed. The school committee asked for $82.5 million, and really made the case that this was not needs. This was not wish list. This was needs. The mayor came back with $76 million. So now we're $6.5 million divide, and what essentially happened Tuesday night was Superintendent Judah Scannell and
what's his level of confidence he has the $76 million, first of all?
So and that is actually a very good question, Lou, because his budget, and you're all tuning in for U Sports, and we're going to work it around to it, we promise. His assumptions in the city budget are based off of some police contract numbers that are just not realistic at this moment. He is basically going to a budget that they all thought they approved back in 2017, going off of that, not taking into account the real contract that was signed, and there's been no real progress in negotiations with the unions. So that 76 might not even be there by the time these workshops are done and all these numbers become final. But what we heard was what the impact would be and what $76 million gets. And what we learned was, I mean, we knew a lot of this already. Methuen schools are woefully underfunded comparatively to the state average, to the per pupil averages across the region. The things that our educators do with the resources they have are heroic. I'll go there. And so to hear all of these different cuts, to hear now, we didn't even have enough this year to, they told them what they really needed last year, and they actually got cut in last year's budget. And they told them, we're going to have a problem with special education because the costs for special education have gone.
Can I just cut you off there,
now, okay, and I've got the guy that can speak to that.
I have a hard time with that.
Yeah.
There's a difference between saying the cost is rising, but the mandates, the federal and state mandates that these special ed directors and administrators and superintendents are expected to follow and provide the educational services are not being talked about. So here's my thing. You elect a group of school committee members to meet with the superintendent, the special ed director, and all the other administrators over the course of the year to talk about the things that what I heard on your live stream about the goals of the school committee and the school department, buildings and teachers and educators that have licensure and all the things that were important. But those are mandates. Those are expectations that come with money, with funding, with the Department of Ed coming down and saying you could be cited for not doing this.
When you say mandate's not a want to, mandate's a have to.
It's an absolute have to.
Yeah.
This is what you're expected to do. We throw the word NEASC out there as far as the accreditation as a light thing. No, that's not. That's the approval of the high school's credentials. That's what colleges look at, whether kids going to get accepted to specific schools, your ratings. And all of the things that are being cut are things that are going to affect those ratings. Those are going to affect the school's accreditation.
Are the mandates unreasonable?
If it's not funded, this is why this isn't just a Methuen thing.
Yes.
This is, country. This is the state of Massachusetts. That's a whole nother big conversation that I don't want to lose viewers tonight. But people seem to jump on and blame certain things. I heard Judy talk about, the Superintendent Scannell.
That's the worst thing, and I hate to cut you off. I don't want to put it in that context. Blame is just not going to get us anywhere. And that's where we're at now.
Yep.
Now we're at a point where the non-athletic folks are lashing out at athletics. You got police lashing out at the school. You got the schools lashing out at the city. And it's like I said it on Tuesday. It's like this Hunger Games mentality of like who's gonna get theirs. And
but here's the difference though, and this is the part I said this. It's been tough for me this last couple of weeks because I also coach.
Yes.
And I have commitments that I've made. And, as I'm being, pulled a little bit different directions, I still have commitments to kids, and I'm not going to not show up to things, but I also want to be there. But we have elected officials that their job is to present a budget. So for the mayor to come in and say, okay, no, that's not the budget we're going to accept, we're going to cut $6 million, or I'm not going to give you the $10 million, we're only going to give you $4 million out of that. That's their job. That's the school committee's job, is to present this is what's needed to run the school system in an effective way, to fulfill all the mandates and to provide the best quality education. And for the mayor or for people to come in and say, well, they didn't do a good job, they've done it all year.
Or this is a wish list. I hate that term, because maybe there was a time where we were talking about wish lists. there's no wish list here. And again, we don't want to get too into this rabbit hole, but a lot of people are talking about this. A lot of chatter on Facebook today specifically because some pink slips were handed out today. And so the results of these budget impacts become real. And whether those positions are ultimately refunded, it doesn't really matter because those specific people are getting pink slips. And now
they're out of a job.
They can't wait. They got to go get another job.
Right.
And this is hiring season for teachers.
Right.
Whoops.
And when you reference how we're one of the lower funding per pupil districts, these other districts that are funding their school system at a higher rate can go out now and hire some of these teachers away. Which, how does this affect Ranger Nation Radio? Well, academics has been really the biggest conversation that we've talked about.
Student athletes, absolutely, all year.
And we keep saying this. These are young men and women that are showing up to the show and talking about, this is where I'm going to my 4-year school. These are the teachers that impact me. These are the coaches.
These are the coaches that have gone so far above and beyond that have impacted me. And now you're talking about a real possibility that some of those folks, one of the first folks that came to mind, I was at the school committee a couple weeks ago, and they commended this second grade teacher at Timony, Diana Natali, for saving the life of a second grader in her class, giving this child the Heimlich maneuver, and that teacher is on the low end in terms of seniority and is definitely on the firing line at this point, and that's a travesty. That's a travesty that you don't even get the chance to mentor some of these young teachers into becoming. Somebody said it great at this. I think it was actually Nick DeZoglio that said, they'll never get a chance to be Rich Barton.
Yeah.
Rich Barton was a gym teacher and got mentored and principal at MHS, kicking butt, taking names.
It's about culture.
Yeah.
And if you have a culture that, for a while, even though there was cuts, there was a culture that's been building, that's been positive. A lot of kids that are being supported by teachers and administrators and other specialty staff. And then all of a sudden to have a huge layoff or a huge decrease in what is the mandate, what's needed, that's going to hurt things across the board. That's going to hurt band and the arts, and a new program like rowing. We've got 4 or 5 girls that are going on to college rowing. It's because it's something new. It's because they're being innovative. They're doing exactly what the state's asking them to do, but our own city is not supporting the school system to continue to grow and develop and to follow the trends, the technology. I saw it on Facebook. Why do we have Chromebooks for everybody? Because that's the way the world's going. You've got your iPad. Technology is it. You can't stay in the dark ages. You can't keep the technology away from them. You have to make it become part of the learning. So it's just go to a school committee meeting. It's going on all year long. They meet, they present the budget, and say, this is what we need to continue to make progress.
Be at the workshops, June 4th, 5th, 6th. On the City of Methuen website, they have it specifically when the school budget will be discussed. I'm pretty sure it's on the 5th. But
Tuesday the 5th. Don't
quote me. I'm pretty sure that it's on the 5th.
Yeah, Tuesday the 5th.
So, go to City Hall. Go to the City Council workshop and voice your concerns. Bill said it. It's a culture. The athletics is part of the entire culture of the school system. When one part of the school system is hit, athletics everybody takes a hit. I mean, when you're talking about getting rid of band and chorus out of middle school, a parent said it at the meeting the other night. Just wait 3 or 4 years. Our award-winning band at the high school will not be what it is because their feeder system's gone. I mean, it's just there's cause and effect for every move, and I'm just tired of hearing folks say that schools are getting too much funding without taking a look at the numbers, because when you take a look at the numbers, we are woefully underfunded for the type of the size of city and the size of district and the number of students that we have to serve. So listen, I'm stepping off the soapbox. Are you got anything left in you at this point?
I might have a comment or two, but no.
Okay.
People need to educate themselves, ask questions, call a school committee member, reach out, call a city council. Just get educated. Don't throw random facts out there. Don't do the Hunger Games thing.
Yes.
The fact is that the previous mayor continued to cut, made promises, and then didn't deliver. And now this regime is coming in and needs to really open their eyes and get down and do some work and figure out where the city's going.
And just to be fair, I want to say three things. The mayor, we have funded the schools at 2.2% over the last 10 years, 2% on average, which is below inflation, below cost of living. It's not enough. The mayor presented this budget is a 5.5% increase. It's not enough, but at least it's more. And we need to get more consistently ahead of the curve rather than keep having these fights every year. But I will at least commend him that he came ahead of the average. The second thing I will say is he sat up there and took every single impassioned comment, including by a parent that's talking right now, because I got up and spoke at the meeting. There were a lot of impassioned speeches, eloquent, very well said points that were made by parents at this meeting, and he sat there, listened to them all, and didn't come back with a rebuttal at the end. He just said, I have some homework to do. I have some listening to do and some homework to do. And the third thing I will say is he potentially had to leave to go to a retirement party that was previously scheduled, and he saw how important this was. This is Mayor Jajuga. He saw how important it was. He canceled that, came back to the meeting. So I at least want to give
that's a good piece of info, because I think that's where the digs and the rumors start to come out that he walked out and all that, and it's good to have actual facts as opposed to opinions. So
one of the great coaches at Methuen High School has been sitting patiently and probably stewing. Might have a few soapbox points to make himself. We are going to bring him in right after the break. Jason Symmes, the boys lacrosse coach and
golf coach,
but specifically the spring. We'll talk lacrosse with Jason Symmes right after the break here on Ranger Nation Radio, presented by AFC Urgent Care.
Off from my home, we're flying up no ceiling when we in our zone.
All right, a big shout out to the folks over at AFC Urgent Care. They've been big supporters of us since the beginning as the title sponsor of Ranger Nation Radio, and we are big fans of theirs. AFC Urgent Care, the right care right now. You'll never need an appointment. Got that persistent cough and cold, that cut that needs a few stitches, or need a sports physical and don't want to wait weeks to get into your primary doctor? AFC's streamlined approach helps you be seen quickly and feel better fast. In Methuen, in the Merrimack Street Medical Professionals Building, 380R Merrimack Street. In North Andover as well, in the Burton Grill Plaza. 8 to 8 Monday to Friday, 8 to 5 Saturday and Sunday. Go to afcurgentcare.com for more details. All right, up next, yes, our friends, the law offices of Arthur Broadhurst. You need an experienced litigator? Arthur Broadhurst has more than 27 years of practicing law and will fight for you. He's licensed in Massachusetts and New Hampshire and specializes in criminal and accident cases, mortgage loan closings, and town zoning and permitting for land use and licensing. Arthur's represented us in the State House as a former state representative. Now, let him represent you. Call the law offices of Arthur J. Broadhurst at 978-327-5128 or go online to merrimackvalleylaw.com.
Open up the champagne, pop. It's my house, come on, turn it up. Here hear a knock on the door and the night begins.
Back here on Ranger Nation Radio, as Bill Bryan does some housekeeping behind us, making sure the flag is
Flag
up.
will not fall.
The flag will
Those
not
are some
fall.
nice flags, though.
Absolutely.
Yes, that's right.
Supports the Methuen Lacrosse program.
Need some more tape budget. For sure.
We are here until 8:10, and we're presented by AFC Urgent Care. We will get to a couple other sponsors, the stars of the week in a little bit. But we are very happy to be welcome Jason Symmes into the studio. No stranger to the mic. The voice of Ranger football during the fall. The golf coach and this season beginning this spring was took over the boys lacrosse program. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
We've been like, when are we getting Jason on? When are we getting Jason on? It's like every Wednesday we were at the games, but you were playing.
I was gonna say I should have just come up for halftime.
I'll just throw out a broad question. From what you wanted to see coming into this year, through the whole year, what are your overall thoughts on the first year under the Jason Symmes regime?
I felt that we've made a lot of good steps. We definitely kind of had to build a structure for what I wanted to build on, and I knew we weren't gonna go undefeated this year. But I felt that we were able to build on what we have and really set to kind of moving forward. I don't know. I think it was just kind of building that culture and bringing in some new faces and really kind of changing the atmosphere around the team.
Is it culture? Part of the culture just learning. It seems like you were putting in a lot more. A lot more teachable moments. A lot more video and use of video and use of just actual techniques.
Yeah, and I think the big thing for me was getting coaches around there that could teach the game and that could help bring everyone further, because I'm one voice in the room, and having I ended up it was kind of came together last minute, but I had an amazing staff this year. I can't talk higher about Dylan Doucette, who was a first-year teacher, another one that's kind of on the worried at this point. But he kind of came on, and he had a lot of other things going on, and he played for Methuen High. I coached him back 7 years ago, and he was worried about his lacrosse knowledge, so he was worried about how he could kind of make an impact. So I was really big on finding a role for him, and he's got a background in strength and conditioning and training, so I kind of eased him in that way and got him into the program, and then he loved it. He just loved being part of the team, and he's actually going to be helping out with football this year.
Great.
We're trying to really pull him in, and I found a role for him, like some of the substitutions and some of the things, and kind of being my personal Al on the sideline for things that didn't need to go that far. But if something had something going on, or a guy was just winded, he was the guy that could kind of check in with them and be my ear, because I don't know what's going on behind me sometimes.
So you said your personal Al, is that Al Delano?
Oh, Al Delano, the one and only.
Al Delano, yeah.
But then you had Luke Hume that helped out. He another former player, defensive specialist. He just loves watching film. So
He is such a high energy guy.
Oh yeah, high energy guy, and just loves watching film. I think he strung about half the team's lacrosse sticks. But his film and his knowledge and the ability for us to split up and kind of go offensive and defensively in practice, and I know that they're in good hands, and I know that they're doing good things, and I know that we can do it and then come back together. It can be more, I don't want to say a football practice, because it's different, but it can you can be a little more specialized and separate, and you don't have guys just standing around. And then my two JV coaches were awesome. CJ Roosh was phenomenal teaching. I thought that the JV team, watching them play, and I think watching everyone play, I think where they started from and where they finished it was just huge. It was the strides that people made this season. I thought was amazing. And just kind of saying that and being able to build on that. So today we had our wrap-up meeting with the whole program, and that's what I said to them. I was very blunt. I said, we're still one of the worst teams in the conference. Let's call a spade here, and we have a lot of work to do. And that work does not start the third week in March. That work starts today. And so we're talking about guys are playing in summer leagues. They're playing on tournament teams. We're looking to do Dylan's looking to help out doing some lifting in the summer. I'm trying to coordinate a little bit with football. Instead of kind of fighting for kids, kind of coordinate and work together. And then it's just the basic fundamentals.
So would it be fair to say, having watched the whole season, the last couple of years, that the word you keep using is teach? I feel like that because of lacrosse not being in Methuen, for very long, and if I'm criticizing the youth coach, it's me criticizing myself. So if people are looking at it as I'm being critical, you're teaching the game where I'm watching the Barricas, the Centrals, the Andovers. These are programs that have had youth lacrosse for 30, 40 years. They're coaching. And they're being very specific. One of the players came off after the Barrica game, and they have terminology for everything. You're teaching terminology. So when you talk about that, you have a bunch of athletes that are learning the game, and you're teaching and coaching, which makes it far more challenging.
Absolutely, and I think just going down to even the little things. I played for 7-8 years, and my coaches played, and I think teaching the little things. I think not leaving things to be assumed is big, and just pointing things out. And I think one of my favorite things to do, which is kind of, I don't know if it's the coach in me, but if a guy comes to the sideline and he's just scored a goal and he's on, I like to tell him if it was a good play or not. And the amount of times the kids come to the sideline and I've said, nice goal, you had two guys wide open. Or, nice goal, that was not the right play there. And I think teaching that and teaching even and it comes down to practice and a simple drill, a simple play with a defenseman, if they go for what's called a trail check and they go behind them and they make a nice play, it's good, but why'd you put yourself into that situation? You should have been around in the front and you should have been there, and not being complacent to have that play happen. And I think one of the biggest things that being around the program that I really wanted to do is change the practice dynamic. And really, it was interesting because Dylan and Luke had played, and they said, they were like, you're trying to, everything's competitive. And I was like, well, that's what it needs to be. Every drill, we tried to, our simple fast break drill, we added a one-on-one ground ball. So you had to earn it to even go down the drill, even go down and finish the drill. And trying to kind of instill that competitiveness at all times was something that I was really big on.
While working on the basic skills.
Exactly. And I think one of the kids started laughing at me towards the end of the year because I said, I kept saying, if you can't catch and throw, you can't play lacrosse. And it's so basic, but it's true. You watch these teams that have an established program, the Billrickas, the Chelmsfords, the Andovers, and North Andovers, and they don't drop the ball. And if they do drop the ball, they pick it up immediately. Our guys, the passes, and even in practice when where I started timing them on drills and started trying to really step it up, and even passes that they catch that's at their ankles or at their knees, and they're catching it, and I'm like, yeah, but that's a bad pass.
Right. Bad
pass, and it should be on their ear, and you watch some of these teams, and I think it's really trying to set that this is the level that this is the
bar,
yeah, and this is the card that we drew being in this conference with these teams.
Let me ask a newbie question. You mentioned the Billrickas, 30, 40 years. Why didn't Methuen? If a Billricka has it 30, 40 years, why did it take Methuen so long to get it up and going?
I'll answer for me. I didn't play it. I grew up in Lawrence and had no idea really what it was until I went to UMass and saw some games, had a good time, but even then it wasn't part of the culture. I think what's hurting us in the youth leagues is we're still not having parents and youth coaches that played. So there wasn't an interest, It's kind of a sport of private schools and things like that. We're a blue collar city.
So a couple things there. For me, I grew up in Danvers, and I was in middle school when lacrosse even came there. And St. John's Prep is a half mile from where I grew up. And they used to come play lacrosse at my elementary school, and I was like they would come practice, and I'll rent out the field.
You're like, what's that?
Exactly. I had no idea. And they brought in a program when I was in 6th grade, and I played for 7th and 8th. And then when I was a freshman, it was the Danvers High. It was their, I think it was their second year as varsity, but first year they had seniors on the team because they had kind of introduced it my freshman year. So I made varsity as a freshman player, and I was the first 4-year player ever at Danvers High, and that's not that long ago. So even some other communities in this area are in the same place. And like you said, looking for me to find assistant coaches was more difficult. I really wanted someone from the football staff to kind of have that connection. And I ate lunch every day with Dugan and Coach Ryan, and I'm friendly with all of them, and couldn't find anyone that had any sort of background in lacrosse. And so that to me was interesting. And now that I got a great staff, and I ended up getting someone that was on the basketball, which was the second group I wanted, it's now coming back, looking down at the youth level. There's a handful of guys that played or have stuff, but
that's starting to develop right now.
And the biggest thing that the youth were asking me was for some terminology and some stuff that they want me to see, and for me to come down. And I got to admit, it's hard to come down to youth, and when you're going as many hours in a day. And I made it out a couple times, and we did the youth clinic over the break, and I actually went last night and saw the first half of their game, the youth game. But I know that the youth coaches I sent to Joel and Pete and the guys down there, I sent like kind of my call sheet and basic terminology in the world of lacrosse. But for them, it just brought everything onto one page.
Right.
It helped them make sense, and it wasn't really set plays. It wasn't advanced stuff. It was more, these are the formations I want them comfortable with. These are the things that when they come up that they should understand. Because then if in a year or 2 or 3 years we have kids that all have this basic understanding, then I'll be able to be on the sidelines putting in more like structured and adapt to what they're doing and game plan. And just this year we mixed up man and zone defensively, and we had a couple different, we ended up by the end of the year having 2 different zones in, and trying not to overwhelm them but kind of get the right plays in. But at the end of the day, a majority of our practice still had to be fundamentals. Still had to be catching and throwing and ground balls and one-on-ones and the basics in lacrosse.
What is the biggest thing that you learned that you had no idea you'd come out of this season learning?
I think that learn that you really can improve, get kids to a different spot if you have that in mind. And I think for me, it was coming in, I tried to really get out of the mindset of, so last year I coached the freshman team, so I knew the guys, but I didn't watch that many I didn't get to see that many of the varsity games. So it wasn't like I was getting, this kid and this kid and this kid, and I really coming in with both my assistant coach, or 3 of the 4 hadn't been around at all, and one of them was around just for a little bit last year, and it was nice to really come in with fresh eyes. Kind of go through, and some of the players, just like the development, I can't talk, and Coach Doucette talks how it's his favorite player in the field is freshman Anthony Romano, and the way that he picked up his role. And I think in this day and age, I actually had a conversation with Billy Blackwell about this not long ago, when we were talking about how every kid wants to be the goal scorer. Every kid wants to be the home run hitter. And if you're able to get a kid to play the role, that is, in my mind, almost more important. And Romano, he ended up getting the unsung hero in the Eagle Tribune, but he plays defensive short stick midfield. He's got, it's.
There are no stats.
There's none. I think he had an assist this year, but most of the time, if he goes on the offensive side of the field, he's passing it to someone. But he was someone in tryouts, we kind of kept him along. We're like, it's a big-bodied freshman. His stick skills aren't phenomenal. And then we started doing some plays, and we're like, no one can get around him. Yeah. Like and then we started putting in some more things and introducing him to different things. We're like, he just gets it. and then we were like, well, he's here, but can we get him to where he is? In my mind, he's one of the better short stick defensemen. He will be in that conversation that I had when I had the coaches meeting Monday. He will be in that conversation for the next couple of years. I really do think that.
And he's a hell of a football player.
That's what I hear,
Yeah.
and I'm not at all surprised.
Yep.
You see him running up the field on ours, and it looks like he's a running back running up the field. But yeah, just getting guys from one spot to another, and getting the buy-in, and getting the dedication, and kind of coming in. I think that was the most exciting thing for me. And to be honest, it's a very different when the last few years I've been coaching golf, which is in which I'm still going to coach it, and we have our sign-up meeting tomorrow. Shameless plug, but really trying to get that out there.
If you think you want to play in the fall, you need to get into it now.
Exactly, and but the whole thing is it's a different atmosphere. You have that team aspect that in golf it's more individual, and you have that team aspect where you can pull each other up and you can really work together for a common goal. And I don't know, it's just the motivational aspect of it. It was something that I really enjoyed this year.
How do you dial it back in terms of just your knowledge of the sport, how long you've played the sport, and then coming in as a coach, having to really dial it back in terms of just teaching a lot more fundamentals than where you're at personally?
Well, I had a lot of experience coaching at the youth level previously. I coached North Reading Danvers select team. I've coached Danvers, and having that experience, I think, went a long way for me. It really helped me develop my skill of teaching the basics and making sure, and then building off that. And I kind of equate it to my my teaching in the classroom. I think that's the way you got to do it. I teach math, which I heard earlier you talked to Rich Barden. He was a math teacher. He was a numbers guy.
Yeah.
But he and using the skills you have in the classroom to develop and to really get.
Was he a
kids.
gym teacher at one point? Somebody said that at the school committee meeting, and I
know at the high
thought
school
he was math.
At the high school he was a math teacher because me and Coach Mike Pags, we came in as he transitioned from math into assistant principal.
Okay.
So our first year, you could say I replaced him in the classroom.
Big shoes to fill right there.
Jason Symmes, MHS principal, 2026.
I don't think so.
So we do have a question. Someone I know pretty well. She could actually be called
Belated
my boss.
Birthday.
Pam Bryant. The impact of lax players playing multiple sports, and how does it help them?
I think just having that field awareness and that understanding of team, and I'm all for kids playing multiple sports. I think finding that time to carve out when you can do the specific skills that you need for that sport. But I'm 100%. I actually joked the other day that I had a kid come to me about golf, and he's like, I think I'm interested in golf, but I've been playing football, and I really like football, but I really want to be able to be a good golfer. I'm like, play football. And he was like, what? You're the golf coach. And I'm like, if you have that opportunity and that's something you want to do that. I played soccer in high school, and I regret not playing golf or football. Really football more than anything, because the football was a sport that I could never play again. And I think we were saying before the show that I think for me, I got my itch in college when I found rugby, which was kind of the hybrid of the soccer and the football. But yeah, the multi-sport is, I'm not a huge fan of the specialized athlete. I think that there's way too many opportunities for kids in different sports. There's way too many. You look at some of the better athletes at our school this year, and they're all 2-3 sport athletes.
Absolutely.
I mean, I look at Saul Cespedes as a kid who, that was one of my favorite students coming on and interviewing. I'm a dancer, I'm a gymnast, I'm a track person.
Mm-hmm.
And you saw it in the football field. You saw his grittiness, his toughness, but then his agility and his balance, and
gymnastics. I didn't know about that, and then to hear it, it's like, okay, now I can see it.
Yep.
And, okay, let me turn it around though. Now, typically, and I'm just playing a little devil's advocate. Let me turn it around. for a program that's at the stage that it's at, how do you not get selfish and want them to put all their time into lacrosse?
Because I just worry about that with a burnout for any sport. And I worry that, I think that if you play in, I have 5 or 6 kids playing on tournament teams in the summer, so that's early summer before football gets started. We're looking to do a weekly league so that they get their sticks in their hands. And to me, if they're lifting, they're getting stronger, they're getting bigger, they're getting faster, we can find time to work on the stick skills. We can get time to get them out in the field. We can do some fall things on Sunday nights when football's off, and when in the winter we can find a night when the hockey kids and the wrestlers, because I don't know, I want the kids excelling in the other sports. I wanting them having it, and I don't know if part of it's for me being with golf, I'm getting everyone second or third sport. I haven't had a first sport golfer in a long time, and so I'm used to that, and it's not that I'm okay, I like that about our students, that they're involved in so many things. That the captain of my golf teams was the captain of the baseball team. The captain, we have hockey players, we have wrestlers, we have girls lacrosse players, all over, and that's a small team. I have 10 kids on my varsity team and for golf, and there's that many sports are represented. And yeah, would I want the kids playing 5 days a week lacrosse, and would that be good for the program? Absolutely. But are they going to be ready and excited to play come March for the team when that's all they've been doing? Or are they kind of burnt out?
I think it's depth, too, though. I think when we're talking about the Andovers, Barica, Chelmsfords, you have 5 or 10 of those kids that's their sole sport, and they're playing year-round. But then you have another 15 or 20 kids that are on the JV varsity level, that's that second or third sport, but they bring another element. I think for me, watching the games this year, that first crew would come out and be a close game, and this isn't a criticism of the second and third line, but there was just that same line for those varsity teams.
Oh, absolutely.
Where the kids were just as good, Tim. So there was really very little drop-off, where for us, you have a pretty good-sized drop-off.
Yeah.
All right, so we got a couple minutes left. Let me just ask you, to the parent, to the kid who's never picked up a lacrosse stick but is curious and thinks, that looks cool, but I don't think I could do that. What's your pitch to the athlete or just the student who is just thinking, lacrosse looks cool?
The pitch to someone is you get to run around a field and hit people with sticks. I think that's kind of the first buy-in, and then you get, but then
That's
you
what
still
drew me to the sport.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Exactly, but then you start kind of looking at the X's and O's, and it's offensively and defensively, it's basketball.
Yes.
It's basketball with an extra guy, and you can go behind the hoop. That's basically what it is when it comes to offense and defense, and that's why Coach Doug Ryan, who's an assistant on the varsity basketball team, is my freshman coach, and he's the guy on the bench. When he's next to me on a varsity match, he'll turn to me and go, "Ooh, look at number 17. We have a matchup here. Can I draw something up?" And I'm like, "Absolutely." So he comes from that draw up every single play mindset, which I would love to get there. But for me, in the first couple of years, it was more, let's get these formations. Let's adapt our formation to what they're giving us. If they're giving us zone, we go into something. If they give us something else. And so it has that strategy that a football or basketball has at the same time. Plus, it's just open field and running, and I don't know. I went down this weekend to Gillette. The NCAA national championships were down there, and I went down on Saturday, and it's just phenomenal to see this game. And it's interesting because it's at the level right now that the professional league is not. It's not there. It drops off. The best lacrosse in the world right now is the Division I level, and watching those guys play, it's amazing. And the coach and me, my nephew plays for Danvers High, and my brother-in-law is the head of the Boosters there, and they, I went with them, and I'm watching the little sidelines, the little things. The sticks are all lined up. The balls at the end line are all in a row, and those are some of the little things that I really, those are some of my pet peeves and the things that I want to instill. And I think when you start doing the little things well, everything else kind of comes. And that was one of the things. We walk on and off the bus 2x2 full gear. every away game.
You give out an award at the end of the game now too. What is that called?
We call it the Ranger Ground Ball Bucket. That was the original helmet that I played as a 6th grader. It's not the actual physical one, but that style of helmet. Mine was white. I think I put a bunch of stickers on it. But that was it's kind of the old school gritty. Win that ground ball, go into that battle, and come out with the ball. The lacrosse was originally a Native American game that they would play for land, and they would play in the woods, and it's that style of they would whittle their stick all day and get their stick ready to play, and a field would be a mile long, and that was the game. So that's where it started, and so what it's come to is interesting, and it's just kind of getting that ground ball, that grittiness. I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna win that ground ball, I'm gonna come out, and I'm gonna and win that for my team.
All right, so you're the senior advisor. I don't want to get too melancholy on you. I don't want to make you tear up or anything. But what is it like? I mean, just with prom and now with graduation coming to have to say goodbye to some of the best kids you ever met.
Yeah, and it happens every year. I've been the class advisor now for 5 years, and every year. And to be honest, it's not at graduation, it's not at prom, it's at some of these trips.
Yeah.
So yesterday we went to Loon Mountain.
Yeah.
It is hands down my favorite trip that we do. We brought 100 and something kids up to the woods, and they do rock climbing, they do zip lining. They're doing these. It's like Project Adventure, but they're out of their element. They're so well behaved.
Some of them are out of the city for the first time.
Seriously, and they're so well behaved. All the staff there are like, these are the best, most well behaved kids, and I'm like, really? Have you seen them on the? But seriously, and we were talking, Miss Thomas and I and Miss Melanson, who were chaperone. We're watching these kids go up the rock wall. And like they couldn't do it, and then kids are encouraging each other, and it's just watching them, and it was awesome. But a quick side note that is kind of interesting is one of the staff members turned to me yesterday as there was 5 kids up on the wall, and he's like, I know I've told you before the kids are well behaved. He goes, the other thing is like you end up with a lot of really athletic, really in shape kids, and he's like, look at these kids on this wall right now. I look over, it was Saul Cespedes, it was Xavier Ortiz. It was Luana Machado. It was who else was over there? I know Allie Druin was over there.
The athletes,
but they were climbing up and down the wall, and they were just having a blast, and they were going on bike rides, and I don't know, it was just kind of bringing them out of their element, and that's always the day that it kind of hits me that these guys are gone.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like they're never really gone. I hit the driving range before here and saw 2 former students, and just kind of catching up with them and seeing them. It's just awesome.
Nice.
I just love every part of it.
I do want to circle back a little bit, just with something you were talking about. Basketball players and hockey players seem to really gravitate towards lacrosse, and jump in on this, but those are the kids that are playing year-round. Mm-hmm. Hockey has that demand with pay-to-play basketball and AU year-round. Those are the kids that I see that need to get away from their sport for a season and play something similar and have a different brand of competitiveness. I've seen too many kids in basketball drop off because they play year-round and they get burned out and get sick of it. Same with hockey. You've got to give your muscles and that part of your body that you've been playing year-round a rest and do something that's very similar.
Oh yeah, and I think what's great about those are both really like high energy sports that there's a lot of similarities. A lot of similarities in hockey, a lot of similarities in basketball to lacrosse. And it's funny, when they first come out, I'll look immediately, and you don't even have to tell me. I'll be like, oh, that's a hockey player, right? And there's like little things. I'll be like, yeah, he's going to get at least a couple pushes in the back. He's going to get at least a couple late checks. It's like, you can't
in a slash.
You can't finish your check. You're not on ice. You can stop yourself. And like watching some of these different athletes out there, you can tell where they came from, and trying to get rid of some of these habits that they bring from the other sport. But I hope that they get some habits that they can then bring back to these sports, and they get the competitiveness. And to be honest, 5'7.5" of me, I was never really a great basketball player, and playing that game, being able to hit someone and put your hands on someone and push them out and not have to keep moving and I don't know, taking charges or whatever it is, and you're able to really push the guy or to check them, and we always say, like, when you're in basketball and you go to double someone, you're going to double to then stop. In lacrosse, when you go to double someone, you're going with your shoulder, and we always say you don't side with your stick, you side with your shoulder, because you want to make them know that you slid across the crease there.
All right, so before we let you go, and again, Jason Symmes, huge pleasure to have you in here on Ranger Nation Radio. Any plugs you want to get out there?
So the golf sign up tomorrow. Yeah. We're starting, actually, and this is going to be on social media tomorrow. We have a raffle for a golf bag. The hope is that we're going to raise enough money that we can get new team bags. We got them 6 years ago, the bags that we have, and they're still great, and they're going to become the JV bags, but it's time to bring some new ones into the program, and so I got a golf bag, and we're going to do a quick raffle for that.
Nice.
I'm going to do, it's to be determined for camp for lacrosse. I don't want to say unfortunately, but I guess fortunately am spending my summer in Nantucket. I got a job being a camp director there, so I'm not available to do a camp in the summer. But we're looking to do one in the fall, and we actually we have two players, Mike Bowden and Cal Buck, that are both going to Newberry College, and I've created a relationship with that coach, and we're in talks about having a combined camp in the fall.
Nice.
That will include Newberry to kind of get their name out, bring probably some local kids.
Sure.
And including, obviously, the hope is to have it at Methuen, and there's even some really early talk of having Newberry play a home game up in Methuen and have like a double or even triple header with something like a youth and a high school and a college.
I gotta believe this field is nicer than some of the fields they're playing on in college.
Oh, absolutely.
We just gotta get people on the field, though, Tim.
We gotta get the keys.
Open up the.
Yep.
I didn't say that. Open up the field.
Did I say that? Open it up to the community. There you go. All right, Jason Symmes, boys lacrosse coach, golf coach, just a huge supporter of Ranger Nation and Methuen High School and just youth sports in the community. Huge thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me.
I didn't realize how many hats you wore.
It's crazy.
Sometimes I get yelled at for having too many.
All right, so I'm gonna do a couple live reads, Lou, before we get out of here. We want to get some business out of the way. I want to talk about JG's Ice Cream and Fun Center. They are celebrating 35 years with a big bang. Buy one, get one free on batting cages, bumper cars, mini golf, and go-karts. Get a fun pass for just $21 that includes one of each, plus an ice cream or slushie. JG's is #1 for family fun, birthday parties, and group outings. Check out the May 22nd Loop Weekly for these coupons. Visit them at 602 Lowell Street in Methuen, and visit their ice cream stand at 327 South Broadway in Salem as well. Jason, as well as our entire catalog of guests this season, will be getting a JG's gift card, and
see a bunch of student athletes that work there too.
Exactly. And
I'm pretty sure my golf captain is a JG's employee.
Nice. So I want to just put it out there, Rich. JG's has not been the fault here. Rich has been wanting to give me these gift cards. I am taking it on. And we will get. I promise you, we will get the gift cards.
If I have to bite the bullet and go get a small ice cream and get on there, Tim, I can help you.
Well, I don't want to be.
You're
gonna treat yourself once in a while.
So we huge thank you to JG's for that. Also want to say thank you to Methuen Family Health Center. Family is everything. That's why it's right in the name at Methuen Family Pharmacy, where you can get pharmacy services by the Methuen community for the Methuen community. You don't have to be a patient of Methuen Family Health Center to use the pharmacy either. Drop by 147 Pelham Street in Methuen, right off exit 47 on Route 93, and get your medication from the friendly faces you already see in your neighborhood. Learn more at glfhc.org/pharmacy. And one more shout out to Canan and Percone Plumbing and Heating. Whether it's a leaky faucet or a 10-story building, Canan and Percone Plumbing and Heating have you covered. Billy Canan, Tom Percone, and their crew can handle any job. with summer coming, get your AC tuned up and be thinking about the kitchen and bathroom remodelings as well. They handle that. They handle water heaters and boilers, sprinkler systems, and more. Canaan and Percone is the name to trust in the Merrimack Valley. Call them at 978-685-0880 or go online to CananPerconePlumbingandHeating.com. Now, we want to get the stars of the week presented by Methuen Family Health Center out of the way. A slow week in terms of games, but we did have softball, got a couple wins this week, and Jillian McCoy?
Julia McCoy.
Julia McCoy. Yes, thank you. Julia McCoy winning.
Jillian McCoy.
Jillian, yeah.
Jillian.
Yes. I didn't think Julia was a softball.
Jillian McCoy, the winning pitcher in both the wins for softball this week. A little up and down week for softball. Couple of losses they weren't thinking.
One was in a tournament.
One was in their tournament.
Yeah, 1-0.
In their tournament, to
Amesbury, wasn't it?
Amesbury, exactly, and then a loss against Central Catholic, but still 15-4 heading into the tournament. One more game to go.
They played today, right?
I think they're playing tomorrow.
We scheduled tomorrow.
Right.
Tomorrow at 4. Greater Lowell. 2 o'clock or 4?
No, 4.
4? Okay. So, get out. I mean, unbelievable day today. So, hopefully another great day tomorrow. Also, shout-outs to Sawyer Billich, Michael Bowden, and Dan O'Connell, named MVC Boys Lacrosse All-Stars. Mm-hmm. Shout-out to the Marsh Girls and Tenney Boys, as they won their intramural championships. And a big shout-out to Eddie Wallace, who was named the MIAA Coach of the Year in Unified, or Unified Coach of the Year. We hope to have Eddie on the show in the near future, but a huge congratulations to him, to all the folks we mentioned, our Stars of the Week presented by Methuen Family Health Center. So that's the show for this week, believe it or not, Bill. I said 8:10, it's 8:06.
Just real quick, though, Eddie was hoping to be on tonight, but him and 4 of the Unified athletes are in Milford at a tournament.
State championships.
Right.
Nice.
So he's not here because...
He's done such a great job with that program. It's amazing to watch those.
So him and Al Delano are chomping to be on the show.
I was going to say, Eddie, we're after you. Al Delano, you cannot avoid us any longer.
Al Delano, who doesn't prefer water, spends all summer at the pool, but I don't think he goes in much.
No, but he gave me the list of reasons why he couldn't be here tonight, and I got tired at about 7 of the 30 things he had to do. So
if A, then B.
I stopped giving him a hard time on the text because he seemed like he was pretty busy.
Nice. All right, so we will be back at you next week, probably back in the studio, Lou. So get used to us.
Excellent. Oh, yeah, I'm here.
Huge shout out to Lou. Huge shout out to Jason Symmes. Huge shout out to you. Catch us on demand all throughout the week. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and on loopweekly.com there's a new section called Loop TV that has all the archives of both our shows. So you can watch them there as well.
And the wife just said,
this one you're not distracted by the game going on. Those are my favorite. I could always tell. I was like, oh, that must have been when we gave up that goal.
I saw a flag.
You always have Bill doing that.
I saw a flag. Was that on Connor Bryant? And my wife just texted me. She said I can only get a kitty size. So
okay, kitty size.
I'll get a kitty size if I get down to JG's.
It's cold.
It is, but
too messy with
I mean,
it's
look at it. It's this is a finely tuned machine. Finely tuned. Tim Wood, Bill Bryant, back at you next week. Huge thank you for listening, to watching. Ranger Nation Radio, presented by AFC Urgent Care.
Go to the meeting on June 5th, City Council.
Boom.
Support your city schools.
Support your teachers.
Absolutely. Good night, everybody.